We're here with another episode of Conversations and Connections. We're the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. I'm Stuart Burson, the prevention coordinator for the agency. And with me today via Zoom, I have Darla Daigle. She is with Buckner. Some of you, at least around the Lufkin area, may be familiar with Buckner and their facilities in town. Darla is the PAL trainer, and we're going to talk about PAL, what that is, and just a little bit about what Buckner is as well. So, Darla, first of all, I really appreciate y'all allowing us to do this.
Well, Stuart, thank you so much for having us on. I appreciate you having an interest in what's going on. It's always good to let people know what all is out there, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I really got to know Darla through something that we do. And I guess it's once a year with the PAL program, is that we do some presentations to the youth involved in PAL.
Yes, yes,
And so that's kind of, and I was a little bit familiar with Buckner. My main knowledge of Buckner is right here at Angelina College. Next door to
yes.
Angelina College, they have the apartments and what is done there. So I'm sure we'll talk maybe a little bit about that. But for some that may just kind of know Buckner by name and really may not be familiar with Buckner, or maybe haven't even ever heard of Buckner, let's kind of just first talk about the basics. What is Buckner, and what services is does Buckner provide to the community?
Sure, sure. Buckner, we have several components to Buckner, and it's been around since 1879. It was established here in Texas with a man that we refer to as Father Buckner, who decided there were kids out there that needed some help. Their parents weren't around, and prior to the 1900s, we didn't have so many of those type of institutes. And Buckner is here in Southeast Texas, but it's all over Texas, and it's even international. And it's a faith-based nonprofit that serves vulnerable children, vulnerable families, or families in general, and also senior adults. An extension of Buckner International, that's where we've got our Buckner International, and it serves through a variety of different types of services and programs to protect children and strengthen families and just transform generations and their current living, where they wind up as elders, so to speak.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the services Buckner provides. I know
Okay.
if anybody has driven around Angelina College, may notice the Buckner, there's like I don't know if you'd call it an apartment complex or some
Yeah.
little apartments across the street. What exactly are those, and what other services does Buckner provide?
Well, the particular ones that you're talking about up there by Angelina College is kind of near and dear to my heart. Those are apartments for single mothers who are former foster youth, and they have children or have families, and they are trying to get established, learn responsibility, go to school. That's why it's based there by Angelina College. So it is actual apartment complex, little individual apartments, and they do have a cost that they have to pay, and there are, of course, stipulations to get in there, but it provides a very safe environment for moms to go ahead and have their kids there and go to college and make classes. And that particular Buckner provides certain types of training on finance and so forth.
Okay.
That's that particular program there in Lufkin, and that is mirrored around the state in different areas. We don't have that particular one here in Beaumont, but we do have what we call, well, obviously one of the main components everywhere at Buckner is foster care and adoption. So we are a foster care and adoption agency here in Texas, but we also have called Project Hopes, and FAYS is FAYS. Those programs work primarily with families, and they have children 0, even preborn, to 17. They work with that age group and those families, and they look for issues with the child's learning capabilities or just teaching parents how to be parents. So we have parents as teacher, that's a part of that program. And we have a fatherhood program that also comes out of those.
So let's talk. I want to talk specifically about the program you're involved with. It's probably the program that I'm mostly familiar with from
Right.
working with you every year on this, and that's the PAL program. You know, a lot of people may not know or may not think about what goes on in a program like foster care. They think about it as, well, finding temporary foster parents for these kids, but they may not take into account, well, what happens when these kids become adults, and so I just think that's very interesting to know what Buckner does about that. So what does PAL mean? What does that stand for?
Well, PAL stands for Preparation for Adult Living, and it is a program that's a part of our transition, which means Texas still has the conservatorship over the kids, and they're probably not going to become adopted, maybe not go back to the families, their parents, and they're going to age out. So PAL is specifically for 16 and 17-year-olds that are in foster care. The transition on a whole goes up to age 26 through Buckner, and we can talk more about that later if it's necessary. But the PAL that I do, or Preparation for Adult Living, is 30 hours of training over 6 different modules of life skills.
Okay.
So you might hear it just called life skills, how to have relationships, how to know what a good or a bad relationship is. Because a lot of times these kids, if they came from a home where they saw a lot of violence, to them that's love. And so they don't really know how to have any other kind of relationships. But we also teach them financial management, banking, how to read their check stub, mechanicking, cooking, how to prep for college, how to get a good job, how to have a good interview, anything we can think that they might need to help them really have a better future plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's very commendable of Buckner when you're talking to these young people about things like this, that you do include healthy relationships. That
Oh,
again,
yeah.
but when we come in with y'all every year, that's what we talk
Yes.
about is what maybe what dating violence looks like, what a healthy relationship is supposed to look like. And I think amongst other life skills, that's an important thing for these kids to come away with.
And it's in this is maybe a my opinion thing, but I think they're really critical knowing how to spot flaws in a relationship in terms of whether it could be a good or a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Whether the domestic violence portion of it, a lot of times the public doesn't think about how much domestic violence type behaviors go on in teenagers when they're dating. They've
Right.
got those crazy hormones and the crazy passion, and they just think it's normal. And so we don't want them to grow up and age out of care thinking, hey, that's love. So we try to give them when they're receptive, we try to present it in such a way that they're like, yeah, maybe I don't want that kind of relationship.
No, and that's awesome. How important is it to give these kids the tools they need to go out into the world? I
Well,
mean, and I can only imagine maybe, decades ago how that was handled. I'm sure is much different than how
oh
it's
yes,
now.
yes. And within our lifetime, when we were young adults, I want to say young adults, foster kids aged out at 18, and that's where the states ended any kind of care. And they were put out, and if they had a place to go, they did. If they don't, they don't. That's not how it's done now, thank God. We've got this transition program, and but it's still really critical. Let me just give you a quick example of why this program is so important for these kids. They may be moved 6 times in 1 year. If you had 6 different parents within a year's time, you would have no idea what the parents before you taught a child.
Yeah.
So you would start wherever, and then while you're in the middle of it, they're snatched up and moved somewhere else. I had one kid in the PAL classes. He had, in the freshman year of high school, been in 6 different high schools. And so just using him as an example, that's also 6 different parenting modes And if that happens on a continuous basis from age 15, 16, 17 years old, there's no telling if these kids got any kind of life skills training, how to cook a meal, how to wash their clothes, how to bathe their bodies, how to make a doctor's appointment. And so it's really critical for them to have somebody sit down with them and say, here are life skills that you need to know as an adult,
Yeah.
because these are the ones that are aging out.
Well, what's it like for a young person, going from the foster system and then being out on their own? I mean, that's even with the transition, that's got to be maybe kind of scary or intimidating for some of these kids.
Oh, it's definitely scary for many of them, and they will say, I'm afraid. The closer they get to being 18 and they start realizing that this is the end of youth as they know it. More than 23,000 youth age out of foster care in the U.S. foster care system every year. And in Texas, it's about 1,000 children age out of foster care. And
Yeah.
those kids, after reaching 18, 20% of those youth are become instantly homeless. They do not stay in any kind of a transition program. They do not have a place to go to. We do provide in Texas certain types of extended care and what we call SILs, SIL, that provide services to help them once they turn 18, but still 20% become instantly homeless when they turn 18. So nearly half of the youth that age out of foster care in the United States are going to be homeless or incarcerated at some point in their life. And so only half of the former foster youth are going to be gainfully employed by 24 years old.
Yeah.
So when that's the age group that our program deals with, we try to be kind of a family connection for them. There's a little bit of funding there. There's more training. There's more help getting housing, keeping housing. And this has been a long-term development over decades with some help from the federal government. And it's been more and more in the mind's eye of the community, just like this podcast. Some people will go, oh, I never thought about that.
Right.
I never thought about it, so in our ability to get them to attend college or get extra training so that they can have a good life, all of that is improved when they get into one of these kind of programs as they age out.
Yeah. Um, since the Family Crisis Center has been involved with the PAL training in what you do for the past several years, it's all been online except one year. Last year, I think we did it in person here at Buckner and Lufkin, and then this year it was online. How big of a challenge has that been? I'm going to assume traditionally it's always been in person.
Right.
And maybe after COVID, it was kind of transitioning to online. How has that worked out for y'all?
Well, you're right. Historically, it's always been done in person. And of course, 2020 brought that to a screeching halt. And then we tried to kind of get it back into in person. And the problem we had is we're in Region 5, you're in North Region 5, we're in South Region 5. And it became a problem of trying to get set up and be back in person in one area. And so that is something that we're still trying to do. We've tried to have programs where some of them are in person and the rest of them are virtual, because we have some kids in the north and we have some kids in the south.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a challenge. I think at first the kids were really excited. We're staying home and we're online, doing online school, and really quickly in 2020 that became not so fun.
Sure.
And it is a challenge also. There's a lot of really fun online games and interactions and surveys you can do with people, but if they don't have a computer, they can't do them. If they're attending virtually with 2 or 3 other people in a group home, those 3 kids can't do it because there's just one computer. So it's not like being able to do games and write on Post-it notes on the wall and all the fun things you do at conferences or training when they're in person. So we really are pushing to get them all completely back in person and hoping to do so this summer.
Yeah. Well, Darla, I think being involved in the PAL program as the Family Crisis Center has really opened our eyes to what goes on and how it's much more to, the foster system than just finding a place for kids to live when
Oh,
they're
definitely.
minors, and that's it. Before we go, I just kind of want to ask you, what got you involved in this line of work? Is this something that you've always been interested in, or did you just
Well,
happen upon this?
it is kind of a mashup of those things. I worked for the Rape and Suicide Crisis Center as their education specialist for 4 years, where I learned about human trafficking, which is, you don't want to say you have a passion for certain things, but um, I
I
got
get
a
it.
passion for wanting to be involved and prevent human trafficking, as well as child abuse, child sexual abuse, all of the things that I had to train others in. And then I went to work for Harvest House, which is down here in Beaumont, and uh, it is a I was an advocate and a case manager for not young adults, youth who have been trafficked, sexually exploited. Um, and then I came to Buckner's as the PAL specialist. And I saw a great advantage to that because we've got our foster kids are definitely more vulnerable. They are in the population that are more likely to be trafficked. Runaways are more likely to be trafficked. Vulnerable families are more likely to traffic their children. And I saw a big component here of maybe that prevention. I would always rather prevent than try to clean up. Um, I know that sounds kind of weird, but
No, but
that's
I'm not. That's I kind of
I
like
just
the way that's
yeah.
phrased. I kind of like that.
I'd always rather prevent. I'd always rather teach. I'd always rather be in the group that's keeping a group of children, young adults, young teenagers from being trafficked or sexually exploited or in domestic violence situations. Because I believe not only does it help them, it helps all of society. I mean, we
Sure.
can always use less violence and less exploitation.
Right. All right, Darla. Again, thank you so much for taking some time out. This has been a long time in
I
the
think
work.
it's I think it's
We
been
talked
about a
about
year and
this
a
about
half,
a year or so ago, and just because of the way things are,
just
and
the way things are.
yeah, it's just been. I'm finally able. Glad that we were able to do this. Thank you so
Well,
much.
I sure appreciate it, and I really appreciate your help and all that you've been
Oh,
bringing
of
to our
course.
kids. It's
Yeah,
been
no, it's
wonderful.
fun. I always love to, the only thing about doing those presentations via Zoom is I really like the one-on-one personal interaction
Yes,
with kids.
yes,
It's
I
kind of
do
missing
too.
when you do something like that, but I'm still glad that they're getting the information that we need to give them.
Right. And
Something
I
like
really do too. I'm looking forward to in person, and y'all will be the first ones I get a hold of when I'm up there.
great. All right, Darla Daigle with Buckner, with the PAL program that's preparing for adult living. Is that right?
We all need that preparation for
There
adult.
you
I
go.
still need it.
All right. Hey, if you feel like you need the services of the Family Crisis Center, we do have our toll-free number. That's 1-800-828-7233. That's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Also, be sure to subscribe to Conversations and Connections via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much any podcast service of your choice. And if you'd like to make a donation to the Family Crisis Center, go to our website. That's Family Crisis Center of EastTexas.com. There at the bottom left, you'll see a donate button. Click on that if you'd like to make a monetary donation to help survivors of relationship violence. Be the voice, if not for you, for someone else.